Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for the 15th of May, 1982. We are moving right along through the month of May. We are moving right along through Mid-South Wrestling. We have basically most of the first almost 6 months of the year. Well, not 6 months yet, but a good bit of the first 5 months anyway completed, and most of December of last year. 81 here. So we're moving right along and giving you good quality stuff. Hope you're enjoying that. Probably, I'm either going to do Mid Atlantic after Mid South or go back to Smoky Mountain and do it. But we've got as comprehensive as a Superstars of Wrestling episode series as there is. Complete or almost complete world class. Going to have complete Mid South, complete Smoky Mountain. Well, basically, this is going to be your home for independent or territorial wrestling audio. By the end of this, it's going to take us a couple of years. We need your help. Subscribe, like, comment, send this to friends, and all that good stuff. Bill Watts gives us some updates on recent events in Mid South to start us off. Nothing majorly of note that needs mentioning here. The Grappler and Coco Samoa is there, and we kind of see that. And Grappler has been a reasonable, I wouldn't say mainstay, but reasonable person over the last little while. Coco Samoa has been protected well. He's a relative newcomer who has been a pretty good babyface. Big slam by the Grappler, and Grappler manages to drop a knee, goes right after, and actually comes up limping. I like when guys do that. They do an offensive move that should hurt them, and they act like it does. Shoulder breaker by the Grappler. Grappler breaks things down. High speed match with this, as a big clothesline by the Grappler as well. He kind of dropping the knees and going right after his opponent, and goes back to the arm bar, among other things, and we kind of see Samoa having to fight from underneath a little bit here, more than he normally does. Grappler cuts him off and goes after a continuation of that whole mess, and a arm, I guess you'd say, bulldog on the arm, 1, 2, and 3, but for the Grappler. We go into, I guess you'd say, a hype segment. Paul Ellering working out with kids, young children, probably, I don't know, 7 to 10 years old, something like that, maybe 6 to 10. Anyhow, he's in there cutting a promo about everybody being fired up, loving working with kids, being around kids, and the like. That's a pretty major thing for him, and he has them do a bunch of sit-ups, and then he has the kids stand on his chest, and that. Basically, the idea is to get Paul Ellering over as a guy who likes kids. They do this over the next several weeks, a couple of times. Not quite sure where it goes, because he seems to drop off the face of the earth. Well, not completely, but be less of a figure after that hype than he was before. One Man Gang and Mr. Olympia is up next, and a pretty basic match here. Olympia, again, has been a major force in the area for quite a bit, and we kind of see Olympia get tossed around a little bit by the Gang. Not a big surprise there, as the Gang has been basically proceeded to be and considered to be a major powerhouse. Hard shots by Olympia. Olympia sends the Gang back. Gang held up by the ropes. Gang manages to get a bear hug on Olympia, but Olympia manages to get out of it for a little bit. Big body slam by Gang there, and that's kind of where it's at. Back elbow by the Gang, and he kind of slows down Olympia. Olympia, of course, been around a while, doesn't die in there. Manages to fire back, but always does put over the strength of the Gang. I think that's an important thing. There's so much of what's funny to me is I'm seeing the parallels with what Braun Strowman in today's product could be if he was portrayed as anything more than a goofy guy, and was portrayed for the power. I see that in what they're doing with the gang here in 1982, and apparently the Goof Troop writers in WWE or Vince or whomever is making a call on that doesn't see it. I'm not a Strowman fan, but I could see where you could use him now that I'm watching this old stuff that actually makes sense. Short knees by the one man gang, and shoulder tackles, tries again and doesn't get what he wants. Does Olympia? Olympia though does take the big man off his feet. I'm not sure that the guy in gang's position should be leaving his feet as often as he does. I think the gang leaves his feet a little bit too much in the area, but Watts doesn't tend to really protect guys from leaving their feet all that much. Olympia up on the back with a sleeper. Gang sends him into the buckle. Olympia comes back and kind of hits a modified tackle that kind of catches everyone off guard. Olympia goes to the top rope, hits a drop kick, and sends the gang over the top rope to the floor, which I'm pretty sure, is a disqualification, although the referee doesn't call it right away. Akbar in the ring, managing to take some heat and get tossed around. Big splash from the one-man gang when he's back in the ring, and he lays out Mr. Olympia. Big elbow drop there, and the referee makes the count 1, 2, 3. Your winner, the one-man gang. So disqualifications must be up to the referee's decision. Kim Duck, otherwise known as Tiger Chung Lee, later in the World Wrestling Federation against Dick Murdoch. And again, we have Duck that is managed by Akbar. Seems like everyone's managed by Akbar. Murdoch makes his way out and is not intimidated by his adversary by any stretch of the imagination. Match becomes a breakdown and a bit of a brawl. Not a big surprise there either. We are moving quickly through matches, and one thing I like is that's something about Mid-South. The pacing is always, a wrestling show. I would have loved to have seen this, and I would have sat through commercials for this type of wrestling. Nowadays, I listen to the program on mute, today's current wrestling, except for AEW. But even their dark show I listen to on mute, but that's Excalibur's fault. But anyway, the nature of that is, we see Murdoch come back up, and he's ready to go. He's ready to fight fully, and we see the pull down by Tiger Chung Lee. Lee works the arm for a little bit. Doesn't get all he wants on it. Gets enough though. Goes back to the arm a couple of times, and then top wrist lock by Murdoch. Murdoch though continually taken down time and again with the, I guess, misuse or mistiming of his own arm-related maneuvers. Murdoch eventually gets back to his feet. This match is not what you'd expect. Maybe they were planning for larger things for Kim Duck at the time. Maybe Murdoch was in the doghouse, but it wasn't. This is not the match that I would expect it to be at the time. And, because you'd expect Murdoch, who's a bigger star, wouldn't have this much trouble with a guy who's just entering, unless they were majorly planning to push the guy, but it doesn't seem they do that, so it's kind of confusing to me. Anyway, eventually Murdoch does come back, hits a few shots, punches, some registering, and Murdoch manages to get caught with a couple of shots that I don't think he was fully expecting. Akbar on the outside of the ring is very animated, to say the very least, and he's up on the ring apron. He comes in, tries to get involved, manages to nail his own man with the weapon, and Murdoch then manages to nail him too. And we have a 1-2-3. Murdoch gets your victory here. So just a weird way to book the match. Anyway, Iron Mike Sharp versus Billy Starr. Starr becomes a relative regular enhancement talent over the next several months. I don't really know much about Starr outside of this area. Iron Mike Sharp has been a reasonable, involved individual over the last several weeks and months here on Mid-South and the Irish Whip. Sharp with a drop kick right under the chin, and he hits the second one. And Starr backing off, begging off, and basically saying, I don't want any more. A couple of drop kicks from Mike Sharp is all he needs to be begging off. And so then we kind of move into Sharp using more of the top wrist locks and the like, takes him over. And again, Starr, the majority of his deal is being a classic heel, complaining about getting his hair pulled, complaining about getting beaten up, doesn't like any of it. And then takes just a couple of shots, using eye rakes and other such things to gain an advantage. Sharp out of the way in a relatively quick fashion. He hits an arm drag and actually a series of them. And then he goes and gets a bear hug, holding his adversary up there for a few minutes. And then we kind of see Sharp eventually get his victory, in relative quick order. And it's interesting to say the very least that Mike Sharp, a guy that most people kind of think of now as an afterthought in wrestling history, is anything but in this time and space. Sharp manages to get his backbreaker, and there you go. I guess you'd say, proper main event, Ted DiBiase and Ernie Ladd. What a team that is in 1982 versus the Assassin and Bob Roop. I believe Akbar out with them. Of course, Roop is your North American champion still, and this is a big match for the time period. Roop and Ladd kind of square off. Roop back it off. Obviously, Ladd wants more to do with the Assassin. Assassin tentative, doesn't really want much to do with him after doing him wrong in story, and so Roop sends DiBiase in, cuts DiBiase off, hits a few good shots on him, gets a suplex over on the former North American champion, or at least he thinks he does. DiBiase gets out and drops the leg on the arm, works the arm for a couple of minutes. DiBiase, so methodical, almost said maniacal. That comes later. He is maniacal too, but not yet. Anyway, oddly enough, the Assassin bumping around pretty aggressively, hits a couple drop kicks, and then DiBiase takes him over in a Boston Crab. Assassin comes out of that pretty aggressively. DiBiase with a dropkick under the chin. This is a match that, if you're interested in just thinking about tag psychology and how four guys who have independent issues with each other can kind of work it together, this is a match worth going out of your way to see. DiBiase works over the leg with the shin crusher. DiBiase with his own version of the figure four, which he'd spent several months prior to losing, getting over. Of course, he passed out due to Bob Roop's figure four in losing the North American Championship. Ladd comes in to cut the Assassin off from interfering. Assassin sneaks in when the referee takes him back. Classic psychology there. And that's kind of there too. Ladd gets cut off. Roop gets kicked in the face by Ladd. All four guys in the ring, and not a lot left there in terms of things we haven't seen. Anyway, DiBiase manages to try and gets the power slam. However, the Assassin takes DiBiase out to the floor, attempts to hit him with the loaded mask headbutt, doesn't get it. Instead, DiBiase sends the Assassin into the uh, ringside steel post on the ring, and then a one man gang runs down, cuts this match off. Gang and DiBiase going at it here. Gang and DiBiase in the middle of the ring, which eventually we do see that match. I think Gang and DiBiase becomes a bigger thing in late 80s, right before DiBiase leaves. I know there's also a Steve Williams and deal there too. Anyway, match breaks down into complete chaos. The assassin gets the headbutt and beats DiBiase in dubious fashion, and then we go to a final match here. I guess you'd say unfinished business. The Turk and Buddy Landel is your, I guess you'd say, final match, or whatever the case may be. And that is only a couple of minutes, as that's all that's left in the TV time. Landel, obviously a guy they're pushing. Turk has been here once or twice, but not anything terribly major. And I mean, you need guys who aren't meant to be major forces in your journey here. It's important. It's necessary. It's factually accurate to say, hey, this is what we need, and it's there. Anyway, this match is basically there to fill out the rest of the television program, and that is necessary sometimes upon occasion. And certainly, we see the continuation of that being a strategy for Bill Watts. Watts doesn't waste any television time with needless announcer hype unless absolutely necessary to get a storyline forward. But other than that, he goes pretty well. Match is pretty basic. As mentioned, nothing really big happens. Landel, who they're trying to get over, gets a couple of good spots in, and also just basic headlocks and the like. The Turk actually trips when he's trying to walk over Buddy Landel at a point, which is kind of interesting, at least to me. And Turk manages to miss. Crossbody doesn't get all he wants on it, does Landel, but Landel is not intimidated by this. Landel tries to come back to his feet, settling things up, and a atomic drop, pretty aggressive by Landel, and Landel with the elbow drop that would later become a corkscrew elbow drop. 2 count out the back door. In a hurry is the Turk, and then we see Turk, who has a little bit of size and muscle on Landel. Landel still finding his body type, for lack of a better term, here in 82, and which obviously he does by 86 in the Crockett area. But anyway, that's there, and all of that becomes a bigger thing. Turk manages to get a slam out of the corner, but only a 2 count. Roll up, sunset flip, 1-2 by Landel, and with less than 30 seconds to go. The program pretty well, I think, closes without a finish in this particular match, but Landel is made to still look strong enough going against the Turk here in the middle of May 1982. Roll up right near the end, 1-2, and again the near fall referee gives them the go home cue because they literally have seconds left. But they give them up until the final second this time around anyway. Another roll up attempted by Landel, 1-2, and again Landel looks to be just a step or two away from being the guy to be close to a break. Shoots the half. Referee says no more time. All time out here on TV. But we will be back with more action right after this.